in King County.
City leaders in Auburn are in damage control mode after discovering U.S. Border Patrol used the city's flock safety camera system, which is designed to help police catch criminals, used it to potentially locate suspected criminal illegal immigrants. Now, rather than welcome the assistance and say, hey, thanks for helping go after bad guys who make our community less safe, the city appears to be really upset that the cameras might have worked. Now, we've talked about the flock safety camera network before. We actually support it on this show. It's a surveillance footage system that's powered by AI that can, in real time, trace whether or not a car had been reported stolen or associated with a crime. The way this works, let's say, someone is driving a Toyota Corolla and the license plate says, Rance is the best. And someone calls 911 and says, hey, someone with Rance is the best as the license plate just pulled into this pot shop, drove right through it, and stole everything and drove off. Well, now if I go past in that car, the AI-powered software, it will see Rance is the best on the license plate. The internal system will have already been pinged as this bad guy alert, and they'll go ahead and report me to police saying, hey, he was just at Main Street. And it's been relatively successful as best as we can tell where it's been used. But the Auburn Police Department, in a press release that came out, said that this access from Border Patrol into its system had, quote unquote, occurred unknowingly. And that they have, quote, not knowingly allowed nor will we allow direct access to federal immigration agencies. They say the cameras are, quote, strictly for legitimate criminal law enforcement and public safety purposes, which was an odd sentence to include in their statement because if it was, in fact, strictly for legitimate criminal law enforcement and public safety purposes, why would they have a problem with Border Patrol using it to go after criminal illegal immigrants? Or is the city of Auburn or the Auburn PD pretending that immigration enforcement is not legitimate criminal law enforcement? I'm curious. Is that not for public safety purposes to go after the bad guy who's in this country illegally and then commits a crime? Or are we pretending that they're just using this software to go after the farmer on his way to the farm to pick your salads, as the left oftentimes use as an example? I'm legitimately curious what they meant by that choice of language. And I don't know. Other than to wonder whether or not it was actually written by Auburn Police Department officials or if it was written by maybe the mayor's office, Nancy Backus, or the council. I don't know. But it was a weird set of statements in this press release that they put out. If the cameras helped identify criminal illegal immigrants who are wanted by federal authorities, in this case, Customs and Border Patrol, isn't that a win for public safety? Isn't that what we want to have happen? And yet they seem determined to distance themselves from any cooperation with federal immigration agencies, even if they didn't cooperate directly with federal immigration agencies, because they are trying to appease progressive activists who view any collaboration whatsoever with ICE or Border Patrol or the Trump administration as radioactive. Oh, you can't do anything with them. But, sir, they arrested a rapist. Oh, I don't know. I mean, was this the good kind of rapist? Wait, I'm sorry, what, sir? Well, I mean, was he in this country illegally? Yes. We don't want to have anything to do with that arrest. Oh, okay. But he's a serial rapist. Does that matter? Still illegal? We want nothing to do with it. How insane is that? Because there's not at any point in this press release that they put out any indication that this was used to go after the illegal immigrants that they seem to favor, or at least even in the world in which they make no distinction, they always use as an example. They don't say rapist. They say the person who's picking your lettuce or cleaning your bathroom or something really condescending. That's the example they give. There's been no evidence to suggest that it was used for those purposes. None whatsoever. And yet they just, I guess, pretend that that's what's going on. They said they quickly disabled the Flock system's national lookup feature, which had allowed agencies across the country to share data through a national network, which again makes total sense because if you're wanted for murder in, let's say, Auburn, and then you skip town and you happen to drive into, Salem, Oregon, and they have the same system in place, wouldn't you want them to share the information? So, I don't like Oregonians all that much. I don't want to see them get murdered. Should we not get in the way? So they're closing this off so that they're not sharing any of the information. Mayor Nancy Backus defended the city by saying the integrity of our public safety systems and the trust our community place in them is non-negotiable. Okay. What about for the folks in Auburn who aren't radical leftists, which represents, I think, the majority of Auburn residents? It turns out that's not like the bluest of blue cities in Washington state. It's not known as like mini Seattle. They're normal human beings in the city of Auburn, great people in the city of Auburn. Some listening right now who are saying, wait, why is this controversial? Or why are we pretending this is controversial?
And by the way, I just heard back from her office, actually, because you had me reach out to them, and they declined.
What? That's shocking, and I'm sure has nothing to do with maybe some embarrassing news that's going to come out tomorrow that she's connected to. That will break tomorrow. We'll talk about tomorrow on the show. The irony in all of this is so glaring. They're not upset because the technology failed and they're paying for it. They're upset that it worked exactly as it was intended to work. They just went after the wrong kind of bad guy. And at the same time, you have Como with a report out based on research from the University of Washington Center for Human Rights. Let's not call this the Center for Human Rights, because that might actually imply that they're doing important work for human rights. When they say human rights, they mean it through the lens of a radical leftist.
It's a euphemism.
Yes, it is not actually about human rights because they believe in open borders. These are the kinds of people we're talking about. And they revealed that Border Patrol might have accessed data from automated license plate readers or the flock cameras, not just in Auburn, but in several cities across the state. In some cases, according to Como, without explicit authorization. Well, was it implicit? I don't understand. What do they need? So you hit a setting that says all law enforcement agencies have access to this. And Customs and Border Patrol was like, oh, thanks, we're law enforcement. Oh, but you didn't say specifically CBP. You don't have to. You don't have to. They put their report out last night. It said at least 8 local law enforcement agencies enabled data sharing with Border Patrol. Some of the agencies say they were unaware of this access. And that part I believe, I suppose, if it's just can other law enforcement agencies have access to this? You might just say, yeah, sure, of course. We want to help other communities. We're not all insane in this city at this agency. And then they didn't realize they were about to run into a political buzzsaw. Phil Neff from the UW Center for Human Rights spoke with Como.
A number of agencies had offered one-on-one sharing of their networks with U.S. Border Patrol at some point during 2025, and that a larger share of agencies had searches of their networks by U.S. Border Patrol. Huge amounts of information about the movements of Washington State residents that...
Well, hold on. Okay. Huge amounts of data shared about Washington State residents. That is true. They're all suspects in crimes, every single one of them. That's how the flock system works. Again, it's not just randomly collecting the data of everyone that drives by. You have to put in information into the system to say, look out for this license plate or look out for this kind of car, whatever it is. So he's making it sound like it's just like you and me who are now getting tracked by CBP. You know why I'm not being tracked by CBP? I'm not in this country illegally, and I'm not breaking any laws that you know of. But he wants you to think that it's just tracking random people.
Advocates fear could be used for civil immigration enforcement.
It should be. If you're a criminal illegal immigrant, yes, it should be.
For things like criminalization of access to reproductive health care.
Again, this is why this organization is a total joke. No one, and I mean no one, is being arrested via the flock system for quote-unquote access to reproductive health care. which, by the way, is not about reproduction. It's quite the opposite. They're talking about people who might go get an abortion, and we're going to pretend that in Washington State, where it's not illegal to get an abortion, that the federal government is going to find you. They're going to track you. They're going to look for, is that woman pregnant? No, she's a little fat. I don't think that's pregnant. But that one's pregnant. Let's track her. That's not what's happening.
In Washington State, or gender-affirming care in Washington State.
Oh, no, gender-affirming care. Oh, God. He says that it's even more concerning that Auburn and the city of Linwood is on this list. They didn't even know their cameras were being used. I'm terrified.
If that's true, then that's even more concerning, that the agencies that are contracting with this company and using it don't know what's happening with, the data from these systems.
At least we don't have an ACLU lawyer who's going to go out and make a big deal about this and pretend that our civil liberties are on the... Oh, no, we do.
It's crucial that lawmakers put common sense data protections in place, such as restrictions on how long the data can be stored for and who can access it and who it can be shared with.
Law enforcement. It can be shared with law enforcement. Again, most people don't think that that's controversial at all. The only people who claim this is some sort of conspiracy or controversy and want to make a big deal about it are the ones who are in the pro-criminal category of activists. They don't like this, which to me seems to indicate this is a winner. This seems good, is it not? I like this. This is good news to me.
If the ACLU is against it, I'm probably for it.
Probably? You could have probably used the language probably a decade and a half ago, right? When they weren't completely insane. They used to actually be about free speech, and that was really what they focused on. But then they switched. Then they just became an all-out left-wing nonprofit policy advocate. And they no longer really care about civil liberties. They do frame things around civil liberties every so often, but more often than not, it's really just about protecting some sort of progressive cause. And they certainly don't care about free speech all that much anymore, or at least certain kinds of speech.